Hello. I tried to give people some warning this time through social media that I was going to go live. And my son is at his homecoming dance tonight. I have no idea what time he's coming home, but I decided I would wait up for him. So, I see 2 likes so far, but no people. How does that work? Hi, Pink Queen. How are you? What time is it where you are? Hi, Kylie. Hi, Raylan. Hi, Lauren. How are you doing? Hi, Jamie. So it's a little after 11 here, which is super late on the East Coast, but it is a Saturday night, so I thought maybe I'd catch a bunch of people. My daughter's asleep on the couch next to me. So I'm either going to live stream until my son comes home or until my battery dies or until she wakes up or something. Raylan, it's 2 a.m. there. Ugh. Hi, Penny. And I might stay home from church tomorrow because I have a daughter who seems to have like a sinus infection or is just really, really congested. Not my little one, but my 9-year-old. So we've been doing as many home remedies as we can. Pink Queen, I'm LDS. Do you go to church? Hi, Kirst. And today, the women at my church, we did a crafting day called Super Saturday. Hi, Heather. I'll show you what I made. I don't usually craft because I find it frustrating, but I'm trying out my little candle jar Christmassy thing right now. I signed up for 2 of these and there were lots of options and people said, how come you didn't sign up for more? It is because I'm really bad at crafting. So, thank you. Glad you like it. I figured if I thought it looked really bad, I'd tell people one of my kids made it. And then I have this one too. So that's what I did between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 today. Christmas traditions. We always open jammies or something related to bedtime on Christmas Eve, so we get to open one gift. Sometimes my kids will say that they want a pillow or something like that instead of jammies. What about you guys? Kylie, I had to have quite a bit of help with those jars. Just ask my friends. I'm really bad at crafting. I'm sure I'll have some witnesses in here soon. Hopefully we won't have a bad connection tonight. I'm closer to the router now, so it should be okay. I haven't started my Christmas shopping yet. Every year I always think I'm going to get it done early, and then I realize, well, that's not going to work because when you have 5 children to shop for and you don't have the money all at once, it just doesn't really work out. You play Settlers of Catan? That's fun. Oh, good night, Raylan. Hi, Nipote. Hey, Steven. I'm on the West Coast. So it's a little after 11 right now. So the other Christmas traditions. So my husband usually makes gingerbread from scratch, and he makes a gingerbread house and we decorate that. But that's usually a week or two before Christmas. But it's one of the things that we do. When we were newlyweds, we wanted to start a thing where we decorated sugar cookies on Christmas Eve, but that went out the window once we started having kids because it was like one more thing that we had to do, and it's hard to get them to bed on Christmas Eve. So my mother-in-law used to make like 5 gingerbread houses every year. Sometimes she would give them away to other people, but there were 8 kids in my husband's family growing up, and plus another one that died right after birth. But the doctor said that the baby was stillborn, but my father-in-law saw his legs kicking and doesn't believe it. And back then, they typically wouldn't have the mom even hold the baby, so she never held him or anything. Heather, did I miss a question? Heather, you got a military scammer? Tell me more about that. Good night, Pink Queen. I have no idea what time my son's coming home. He didn't even tell me a time, but he's going out with, or he went out with a group of friends, and his date is just a pal. They were talking about going out together, and then he goes, hey, do you want to go with me? And that's kind of how it was for me when I went to senior ball. That was the only dance I went to where the guy asked me, and it was just like this very casual, hey, you want to go with me? And I knew that guy since I was 4, and so he's kind of almost like a brother to me, so there was, no attraction there, and a bunch of the other kids were going to a bonfire that night, like after the dance and dinner and stuff, and he goes, can we call it a night? Because I was up till 2 a.m. registering for BYU. I think I came home at like 11 or 12. So, yeah, I was a party animal. My very first date was a Sadie Hawkins dance, and that's when the girls ask the boys, and you dress in matching outfits. And that ended up being a nightmare. Hi, Jax. Kylie, my son's 18. Okay, Heather says the total sum amount in the box is 7 billion? Oh, wait, $7,500,000. Oh, so you're talking to a romance scammer? Okay, so anyway, the guy that I asked to Sadie Hawkins, he was the best friend of my best friend's date. So when I found out she and this guy were going to the dance together, I said, hey, Jim, do you want to go with me? And he goes, oh, cool. He acted really excited about it. And then we had trouble deciding on shirts that we were going to wear. And back then, like, the sweatshirts were crazy expensive. Like, I think he wanted, like, some kind of sports related thing. It was like, and this was back in the 90s, so like $30, $40 sweatshirts. And I said, I don't have that kind of money. So we finally found some t-shirts, but he was giving me a lot of attitude. And we went to this restaurant called The Keg, and I don't know if those are all over the place or not. Yeah, Stephen, I did. I got married when I was 12, but just flip the numbers. I was 21 when I got married. Anyway, so it's this steakhouse called The Keg, and he was doing things like turning left at the very last minute. So here I am on the passenger side, and he's basically putting my life in danger by turning in front of people at very dangerous moments. And then he decided to order the largest steak on the menu. And let's see, there were also songs playing on the radio, and if I said, I like this song, he would change the station. And if I said I didn't like the song, he would crank it up. So by the time we got into the restaurant and he ordered the largest steak on the menu, his best friend looked totally disgusted with him and said, dude, you know you can't even eat that. And yeah, it was really rude because I was the one paying because I was taking him out. And I don't even remember how big the steak was, but it was huge. And it turned out he was in a bad mood, well, as far as I know, because he actually had a crush on his best friend's date, who was my best friend. So it seemed he was bent out of shape that he wasn't going to the dance with her, but with me. It was just a bizarre situation, and I basically hated the whole night. So that was my first date. Nice, huh? So tell me about your first dates or awful dates. Steven, I look 30. Thank you. Bye, Kylie. Good night. And then, Lauren, you would have told him off. That was really tempting. The only reason why I didn't was because I didn't want to ruin the entire night for our friends. That was just going to affect their plans too. If I said, hey, drive me home right now, it just, I just gritted my teeth until the end of the night and decided, well, that will never happen again. I'm not gonna, hang out with him ever again. And then the first time a guy took me out, it was actually one of the best dates I ever had. It was a lot of fun. And again, it was a guy that I knew most of my life, and it was a mystery date. So 3 girls were asked out, and we didn't know who our dates were. Well, one of the girls knew because it was her boyfriend. So we were sitting in class when we had these poems delivered about someone named the Cajun Cook. It's hard to explain, and I wish I had saved all this stuff. I was never good about like saving memories and that sort of thing. But it was basically this poem asking if I would say yes, and I was kind of nervous about it, like, is this a psycho? Like, who is this? And somebody else knew who it was, and they said, just say yes, you want to go. And so I had a phone number to call, and to RSVP. And one of them, they had their brother-in-law set up an answering machine where we could leave our answer, and he had a funny message about being the Cajun cook. I don't know where they got that term from. So basically these guys arranged everything with our mothers. Our moms made sure we had our bathing suits and everything, and still didn't know who our dates were the day of. And little by little, we got clues as to where we were supposed to go next. So we got sent to the library, and a librarian would give us our next clue. And then that sent us to a Mexican restaurant where we got another clue, and then we found another clue on a sign. And eventually it led us to the elementary school where we were supposed to finally meet our dates. And we saw them waiting outside for us, and then we had some fun and decided we'd just drive away. So they chased us for a while. It wasn't like a high-speed chase, not dangerous, but we just decided to mess with them after going through weeks of not knowing who our dates were. And we went to the state park and we had a water fight with super soakers, and also stopped by Subway before that. And then we went to one of the boys' grandma's house and we played pool, and his mom was there making Boboli pizza for us. Is there still Boboli pizza? Is that still a thing? I don't really pay attention anymore. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it wasn't a lot of pressure. It wasn't, with a romance interest or anything. So, but I felt love, but in a friendshipy sort of way. Heather, you never had a real date? Do you mind if I ask how old you are? Lauren, you've never been on a date either? Sometimes dates can be overrated. Hi, Terry. Heather, you're 35. I can't see your profile picture very well. Is that a picture of you, or is it something that you found online? Some water. I did go on some other dates that were pleasant and not a nightmare. Heather, you say your profile picture is a picture of a reborn that you made? I'm not sure what that means. Kirsty, you've never been on a date? It was kind of funny when me and my husband started dating because we weren't like going on official dates for a while. We met through other people and we started hanging out as groups. And hi, Misty. It's a long story, but this guy was just about to be his roommate, or maybe he was his roommate at that point, and it was obvious that the roommate was into me. And you can't date one roommate and then move over and date another roommate. It just doesn't work that way. And usually I would hang back and wait for guys to make the first move or ask me out, but I didn't want to go on a pity date with the roommate. So I started flirting with my husband, Major. Just to let all guys present, let them know this is the one I'm interested in. And I was really glad because as we got to know the roommate, we discovered things that were not pleasant. The end. Not going to talk about that. Okay. Kirsty, in your early 20s? You just go on a date with like a friend. Friend dates are fun. Steven, your best date was to New York City for Chinese food and the Statue of Liberty. That sounds like a lot of fun. Nipote says, I hated blind dates, and when I was manipulated into going on them, every single solitary one was a horror story. Oh, I'd love to hear this. Hi, Lisa. Okay, Heather says, I take a blank doll kit and color it to be lifelike. Oh, okay. I'll have to see if I can zoom in on that later. Okay, so other Dating stories. Oh. Yeah, I went on a blind date one time. So, I had a coworker who said she had promised this guy when he came back from his mission she would go country dancing with him. But by the time he got back, she was married, and so she asked if I would go um, with them, which is kind of funny because I could never stand country music and didn't want to go country dancing, and she just kept bugging me, and I said, and I have a concussion. So I had a friend visiting, and as I was walking into my apartment with her and my roommate, someone drove by with a water balloon launcher. And you would never think that you could get a concussion from a water balloon, but it's like this slingshot, and it hit me so hard I had a welt on the back of my neck, and so it hit my neck and my head at the same time. But I had had concussions before, and so I was at work, and when I looked at my computer screen, I was looking at it like this because it was like hurting my eyes and stuff. And so anyway, I still got talked into the country dancing thing, and I had never been country dancing and didn't realize there was so much spinning involved. And I finally had to tell the guy, I'm sorry, but I have a concussion and I feel like I'm going to be sick. He was a nice guy, though. I just felt bad that he didn't have someone to go dancing with who really would have liked it and didn't have a concussion. It was pretty much all spinning. Yeah, Lauren, it was me, the water balloon thing. I think it was maybe an EFY kid. There's this program our church has called Especially for Youth, and kids sometimes go to another state to have lots of. I've never gone to it, but I think they have lots of devotionals and that sort of thing. Anyway. Yes, Stephen, brain injuries do kill a date, don't they? Terry, my son doesn't really have a curfew tonight for homecoming, but he's just hanging out with a group of friends, and they decided to do a fast food potluck, which cracks me up. They usually just get together and then they play games, card games and stuff, and like there's no alcohol involved or anything like that. What time is it now? Yeah, it's homecoming. He made kind of a last minute decision to go to homecoming. 11:38. Yeah, he could be another hour or so. I don't even know. So, one of the moments when I knew I was really into my husband, and this is just a simple thing, right? Just, of course, he would still be nice to his wife, but his his roommate made this comment. Um, as soon as I get a wife and marry her, I'm gonna drop the nice. I'm gonna drop the nice act. And he acted like he was joking, but we kind of felt like, yeah, he probably really means that deep down. And my husband goes, I'm still gonna be nice to my wife, and just the way he said that, it just really touched my heart. But yeah, that should just be an automatic thing that you're nice to your wife, right? Kirst, at 7:38 p.m. where you are? Where is that? Yeah, Nipote, that is horrible. The guy would think that way. And to think that, He's one of those people that thinks if a girl says hi to him, that she's leading him on. So at the time, they were kind of trying to form a band and had decided that they'd like me to be their singer, and that really didn't go anywhere. And that guy called and asked if I wanted to come to rehearsal, and I said, well, I have no gas in my car and I'm not going to have money for another couple days, so could someone pick me up? And that wasn't like a ploy like, oh, can you come pick me up? I'd love to get in your car with you. No, it was a legitimate, I need a ride. And he really kind of took that as me leading him on, which is ridiculous. And there were times he called girls the B word because he asked them out and they said no. Yeah. We'll just not talk about him anymore. And then there was a night where we went out for ice cream, like just a bunch of friends, and I didn't have money for one, and so my husband said he'd pay for it. And while I was waiting for mine, he shared his ice cream with me. And so I talked about that a while back. He goes, I was just being a nice guy. I go, you were into me. Yeah, Misty, he was swell. No, my husband, though, was for real awesome. So I picked the right guy to date. Like, he gave me flowers. So we got married, and then a week later we had a reception here, and then a week later we went down to his parents and had an open house, and he had arranged for his parents to pick up some flowers for our 1 week anniversary. And I made a video about this, I guess last year. It's kind of weird that my channel's like, I know, a little over a year old. And there was a time he went without lunch for a long time because he was saving up money to get me a huge thing of flowers and chocolates for Valentine's Day. And so by the time he gave it to me, I kind of freaked out like, oh my gosh, did you get a credit card? Like, how did you pay for this? So there were times he would say, hey, can I take out some money for lunch? The guys want to go out, and they weren't really doing that. He was just stashing away money. Oh, you guys, he also likes to wrap Christmas presents. Isn't that dreamy? So I typically don't like crafting. I like cooking, but I'm a little more intimidated by baking. And so he makes the gingerbread from scratch and everything, and I allow him to do that because I get kind of frustrated with dough. So the first time I made sugar cookies, it was my mom's recipe. I had like taken it out of the fridge and it was crumbling everywhere, and I didn't realize it has to like warm up for a while before it starts to cooperate. So I was trying to make the cookies and they're just falling apart, and I remember I took some dough and I like threw it across the room because I was frustrated. And then I called my mom, and she told me that you have to let the dough warm up and then eventually it will cooperate. I get really upset if I waste money on ingredients, so that was when we were newlyweds and he was, enlisted in the Air Force, and so we did not have money to waste on food. It was like just like devastating for me if a recipe didn't turn out right. Lauren, you love wrapping presents. I don't know. My mom always did it kind of perfect, and mine, the paper gets all crumpled up when I do it. Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry what you went through. What kind of dogs do you have? Yeah, Heather, it's been a long time since I tried making sugar cookies, but I should probably do that this year. Last year, I didn't have time to do anything because I was planning, yeah, I was in charge of two major Christmas things, and it was so stressful. Oh, you have a dachshund and a chihuahua and a schnauzer. When I was a kid, I always said I wanted to get a dachshund. I wanted a black one, and I wanted to name it Limo. And if you ever saw the new Heart show, I also wanted to have three dogs and name them Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Oh, Stephen, I'm sorry you lost your dogs in the divorce. That's horrible. I haven't really thought much about what happens with pets in a divorce because you don't like split custody or anything like that, right? I think decorating cookies is kind of fun. Like, well, once the frosting is all there and made, um, yeah, and I don't know. I love it when my mom's like, here's some sugar cookies and here's some frosting, and go ahead and make some. Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry. I don't know if we're ever going to have any pets in our house because my allergist said we should not have any. Between my indoor allergies and other people's outdoor allergies in my family. And no, when I lost one of my dogs when I was little, I took it so hard. Like I was still crying years later. I was was it taking a test? I don't know. I was in my social studies class, and this girl said, "Hey, I saw your brother one day carrying your dog to the backyard. Was she okay?" I just started bawling because what she saw was he was taking her out to bury her. Oh my gosh. Hi, Mike. How are you doing? Mike, you got married, right? How's married life? Oh, Steven, that's your dog in your picture? Oh, she's so cute. So when I was 11, we had this toy poodle, and we adored her. She was actually a little runt, and she was um, very timid, but very lovey. And one day she fell off. It wasn't a high deck; it was a short deck, and she fell off and hit her head on a sprinkler head, and she had a little brain bleed and started having seizures sometimes. And so she was only like maybe 5 years old when she had a seizure and fell down the stairs. And I cried and threw up all night. And when I think about going through that again, like losing a pet, when you have kids, you know, you're pretty sure that they'll outlive you. But yeah, I loved, you know, my dog like family. So actually, my daughter too said, I don't know if I could handle having a dog because then they would die someday. And but I don't know. Maybe that's something that can help prepare kids for harder things too. And then later on, we had another toy poodle named Fudge, and she had a growl that sounded like Chewbacca. She was psycho and a lot of fun. And she loved chocolate. She could have it in small amounts, and so if she heard the chocolate chip jar opening, she would come running. Like, it didn't matter how quiet you did it, she could hear you opening that thing. And so if anyone left any chocolate out anywhere, it was a disaster. So one time, my sister left her Halloween bag where the dog could get it. She ate 19 little candy bars, and she got violently ill. And then probably years later, my brother left his half-pound Hershey bar on his futon, which is very low to the ground. You know, like the Hershey bars that are like that big. And I had been out with friends, got home late at night, and when I got home, she was whining, and I said, "Oh, what's wrong, Fudgy? Are you having nightmares?" And so I said, "Come sleep on my bed." And I put her on my bed, I turned the light off, and I went, "Why do I smell chocolate?" And I turned the light on. So gross. It's like a puddle of chocolate. And I said, "What did you eat?" And I knocked on my parents' door to tell them that Fudge was sick, and my dad goes, "Why'd you let her in your room when you knew she ate that?" And I said, "I wasn't home. I didn't know she ate that." So my brother had to stay up with her all night while she was sick in the bathtub. And after that, she just kind of figured out that I can't have large amounts of chocolate. So when she would find chocolate after that, she would stash it. Like, she got into a bag of Hershey Kisses, and she was like hiding it in my mom's shoes, and then she put it on the shelf in my room that had some clothes on it. And she actually took my folded clothes down, put a Hershey Kiss there, and like went like that. Tried to put the clothes over the Hershey Kiss, and then she'd put it in a corner of her room and like dig at the carpet and then pretend like she was burying it in the carpet. Oh man. And she was, I can't even describe the look on her face when she saw us discover her, you know, hiding the chocolate. It was hilarious. Hi Mike, I've been trying to call scammers. I just, when I call, it rings and rings, and then by the time, yeah, I have to stop doing that. It's, you know, I have my toddler and everything. I've been like potty training her, so I try to call scammers, but lately I've been messing with a romance scammer via chat. Okay, I'm catching up on the conversation here. Hi, Mashami. I am going to try to call more IRS scammers. I'm having a hard time getting them to even answer for me. Mike, we're doing good. Oh, Lisa says, that's the hard part of having animals, and I rescue elderly dogs, so sometimes I don't get that much time with them. Oh, that's so hard. That's awesome of you to do, though. Steven says, got a 5-pound Hershey bar in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I don't think I've ever seen a 5-pounder. Okay, so Mike says you have to leave some numbers of scammers so I can call them sometimes. So the best way to get numbers from me is on Twitter. So people will tweet them to me and I'll retweet them, or I'll get it some other way. So people comment on my videos too saying here's a new number, but sometimes I can't do anything with it that day. So they shut down fast. So if I can't do it that day, then it's not gonna be used. So but I usually have time to copy it and then tweet it to people, and then, you know, a network of scam baiters will torment those scammers. So you can find me on Twitter at Music is a Rainbow. Yes, Mashami, I saw your comment. Okay, so my video's called Me and My Four-Star General. That is me messing with a scammer, but it's not a phone call. It's a chat conversation that I've had with a guy who pretends to be a general who's in Syria on a peacekeeping mission, which is just ridiculous. Mike, I had to give the funny glasses back to my friend. They were from my eye doctor's office. One of my best friends works there. Her dad's my eye doctor. They keep these vintage glasses around for fun, and so I said, "Oh, can I borrow these?" Because I wanted to make a funny video. Terry, I will be recording another general video with Brittany this week, and you can expect that to come out on Friday. Yeah, Jamie, General Stolen Valor. Oh, Heather, so glad you snagged yourself a military scammer. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie is asking how I came up with my YouTube name. So I started my channel. I wasn't really sure like which direction it was gonna go, if it was gonna be like all one thing or multiple things, but I had already been using that name for my blog. So I had a personal blog that I started with a friend at the same time because we decided, hey, we're not very good at journaling or scrapbooking or anything. And so I was trying to come up with a blog name and everything was taken. And I knew that this one would make my friend laugh because we had on our choir room wall was this mural that said music is a rainbow. And so it's like this rainbow staff and a key signature that doesn't exist, and I don't think a discernible time signature either. And we would try to play out the tune on the piano, and it was, didn't sound like a real song at all. So we would like plunk it out and go, music is a rainbow. And we made fun of it a lot, but we loved that room. We felt safe there. We usually ate our lunch there. We would eat lunch as fast as we could, and then lots of us would just go back to practicing music. And our favorite teacher in the world was our choir teacher, and he was the one who had that mural put up. So it just reminds us of a wonderful time in our lives. That was our safe place. Thanks, Mashami. I love you too. Yeah, I had another person earlier today make this comment that this poor woman needs help and her kids need to tell her no YouTube. Terry asked, do you play any other instrument than the piano? I can play the violin a tiny bit, and guitar slightly more than the violin. Hi, Theo. Lauren, I think she meant that I need mental help for being on YouTube. I don't know. Could have been a scammer for all I know. And some people don't realize that you can make money on YouTube. So some people are like, why are you on YouTube? How do you have the time for that? Blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to support my family in an entertaining way. I had made a New Year's resolution and was talking to a friend and said, you know, I'm just tired of feeling like I have all of these talents to share and not having anything to show for it. For years and years, like ever since I was a kid, people would say, you should be an actress, you should be a comedian, you should be on Saturday Night Live, you should write for Saturday Night Live. And I mean, it's a little intimidating putting yourself out there in the public, but I just felt like, you know, I make my friends laugh all the time, and I know what other people have done for me. Like, if I'm feeling down, I can go and watch a funny YouTube video or movie or something. I'm not comparing myself to Will Ferrell, but Will Ferrell always cracks me up. Like, it doesn't matter what he says, just the way he says everything is hilarious to me. And so I thought, you know, I want to do that for other people, where maybe they'll run into one of my videos and have a really good laugh. And so that's one of my favorite comments, is when someone says I made their day better because they really needed a laugh. Mike says, how is that lamp your husband made you for Christmas? He didn't really make it for Christmas. He just made it and put it on the coffee table, and I decided to beautify it with glitter and purple. In case you all missed it, my husband got a fire extinguisher and put a lampshade on it, and he thought he was real funny, and he said he wasn't planning on putting it there for very long, but I don't believe him, because one time he brought home this American flag that had fringe on it and put it in our music room, attached to like the stand, and so it kind of looked like the Oval Office. And you know, I love the American flag, but I don't love Oval Office decor. So I kept asking him, how long is that going to be there? And he left it there for months. So I decided to nip the ugly lamp thing in the bud. So I sprayed it with a lot of purple and glitter and pink. Oh, thanks, Terry. Terry says, you really do have a great sense of humor and are awesome with improv that you use during your scam bait calls. Thank you. I don't ever see myself doing like stand-up. I feel like I do better when I'm playing off of someone else. So years ago, when my grandma turned 80, we decided to do this funny thing where we pretended to be different people interviewing her, just so we could get stories about her life. And we had planned on me pretending to be Julia Child, and Julia Child actually passed away the day before my grandma's party. And so I'm like, first of all, Amy, I'd like to apologize for dying yesterday. And I was supposed to ask her about things that she cooked and that sort of thing. And Amy, are you mad at me that I put your pie recipe in my cookbook? And then they wanted me to be Barbara Walters, and they wanted me to ask, if you were a twee, what kind of twee would you be? So it was silly, but we also got fun answers out of her. Oh, and then as Julia Child, I said, remember that time we made a pizza with the oregano on it? Only it wasn't really oregano. I don't think she knew what I was talking about. Nipote, I don't think I ever heard the tree question, actually, but I've only heard, like, references to it. Did she really ask people that? What kind of tree would you be? That's a really weird question to ask. Heather says, same here, always better playing off someone else. I like to have to think fast. Well, and also when you're playing off of someone else, while they're talking, you can think a little bit about what you're going to say next. We get pretty creative in my family. So when my dad turned 60, we did a murder mystery party, and that was a lot of fun. I was like this gypsy lady at the beginning, doing fake tarot card readings. Actually, it was a set of flashcards, like just a bunch of animals on it. So I was doing people's supposed fortunes and telling them they were going to have twins and that sort of thing. And I remember right after I did that, there was some photo that, or picture that made it look like it did, like, kind of represent twins. And, let's see, when I turned 30, my mom or sister, they made some fake money with my face on it, and we played all these different games where people could earn Sarah bucks, and then at the end of the night, there was an auction for different things like candy and stuff. So we did like a little bit of like Fear Factor and had to eat some things that were a little bit disgusting, but nothing, Yani Pote, I'm over 30. I'm over 40. And then when my sister turned 30, we had a pretty big party, and each group, like each little family, did a game show that they were in charge of. And I think that was the same night that we, so she has this calendar she gets every year, where there's like sculptures of, it's like food art, and it's really cute. I forget what it's called, but we had her judge our food creations, and we did that as a team, or as different teams. And then I did Family Feud, and of course I had like fake surveys. I would say, 100 fake people were polled and asked what her best qualities are. And then my brother did Deal or No Deal, and he was sweating because, okay, have you guys seen Deal or No Deal? My brother, he put in a penny, but he also put in a $100 bill, so he was like really like, oh man, is she gonna get my $100? So I think she got like a $25 iTunes gift card, so he was okay with that. It was pretty entertaining. And then one of my favorites was when my mom turned 60, we did Survivor, and we seriously spent like 3 months planning this. My sister decided she would be the host, is it Jeff Bezos? And each of us had to plan some sort of challenge, and my husband and I... Are you going to bed, Mike? Oh, hi, Katie. So my husband and I stayed up till like 2 in the morning making authentic looking ballots for people to, to vote others off. And my husband also, he made the immunity idol. So he like made this little tiki thing by carving it. I'll have to get a picture of it. I have it somewhere. And yeah, so we were trying to like, I don't know if you've seen the ballots on Survivor, but we didn't want just plain white ballots. So we got like this kind of brownish watercolor, and then we burned the edges of the paper to make it look extra cool. And it was so much fun because we would each go in front of the camcorder. We go inside the house to vote people off. And do our little spiel and go. I just have to tell you what my brother did. He went to vote off my husband, and so he shows my husband's name to the camera, and he goes, "It's not personal. Actually, it is personal. You got my sister pregnant 3 times. So it was really fun at the end of the night to watch it together and see what everybody said in front of the camera. And at one point, I decided to vote off my dad because he screwed up the game for me. So I had to like practice this to see if my idea was even going to work. So each of us had a color, and I had a kiddie pool full of rocks, and only some of them had been painted. So first you had to go to the little pool and find the rock that had your color painted on it. Then you had to run over to a different area, dry the rock off, run over to, so there was like a rag to dry the rock off. Then you had to run to a bucket of sand that had matches buried in it. You had to find a match, then run to the front of the house and light a smoke bomb that was also the same color as the rock. So my dad took my rock, and I was back there forever going, "Where is it? Where is it?" So I think mine was orange and his was yellow, and he took my orange one. So I did this little dramatic speech about how my dad took my rock, and it was very important to me. And somehow I won at the end. We did this challenge when I made like an alliance with my sister-in-law, and we had to hold ice in our hands for a certain amount of time, and my mom caved pretty quickly because she doesn't have a very high tolerance for things that are cold. But I love ice cold water and stuff. I will swim in it for really long periods of time. And anyway, me and my sister-in-law, neither one of us was caving, and so my sister started putting like ice down our backs. So she put it down the back of my pants, like in my underwear. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. And so we had the Survivor theme music and everything. So first we had catering from this barbecue place, and then my mom was blindfolded with one of the buffs and was taken into the garage, and then we played the theme music for her, and she just started to laugh because she knew, oh, this is gonna be major. This is gonna be so much fun. And we had tiki torches and everything. And they'll serve two purposes because they have tons of mosquitoes. So we had these citronella tiki torches to try to drive the mosquitoes away too. That was so much fun. So now it's like a decade later. My mom just turned 70. And yeah, the weekend of her 70th birthday was my grandmother's funeral. And you know, as I've mentioned, my dad has cancer, so that's putting a major damper on lots of things. It's hard to even like get together and, you know, play a card game sometimes because he's exhausted. So that's like multiple myeloma. One of the main symptoms is like overwhelming fatigue. So that's really frustrating. And one of my best friends has it too, and so she was diagnosed years ago. And as soon as my dad told me that he had this abnormal protein that he was making, I knew immediately what that meant. But it took months before he was actually like diagnosed with it. And they said, you know, we're keeping an eye on it and it could develop into that. So, oh, Misty, your grandfather has that? I'm so sorry. So they're about to have their 50th anniversary in December, and we wanted to do something special for them, like have a really nice dinner at least. You know, he's not really up for a big party, but he's going to be doing a stem cell transplant, and that's going to put a major damper on Thanksgiving, their anniversary, Christmas, New Year's. So I'm just really hoping it works. It's gonna make him violently ill because they have to do nasty chemo first and totally kill his immune system. And he's gonna have to stay really close to the cancer center, so he's gonna have to yeah, rent another place. So he's going to be miserable ill, and it's going to be expensive. And he has to have a caretaker 24 hours a day. And I'm hoping I can go help on the weekends and stuff. So that's another thing going on in my life that is going to make it hard to, keep up with making videos and stuff. I don't really plan on making videos about that aspect of my life. But if it works, we could have years with him. So, I mean, he has a lot of life left in him. So it's really frustrating to see him fighting this horrible disease. Oh, good night, Stephen. 3:14 a.m., huh? Hi, please help. So, Misty, your grandfather's had it for 5 to 6 years. Is he just doing chemo? So one of my best friends, when she first got it, and she's actually had a different type of cancer before, but what her doctor noticed first was like rapid weight loss. And we had to move away from her, so now we're like an hour away, and she used to come over for dinner every Wednesday night. And she started throwing up after dinner when she would come over, and we thought it was because she was losing her home, so we thought it was like the stress of that. And I was really mad because once they found out she did have cancer, they wouldn't just tell her over the phone. They said, well, it's complicated, so we need you to come in for an appointment. Well, they couldn't get her in for like a month. So she waited, a month to be told that she had cancer. And I was thinking, well, shouldn't you be treating it like immediately? So she has been on a variety of things, and so she does like a pill chemo and like IV or injections, and but she also has diabetes, and so they said that stem cell was not an option for her. So, and hers did go into remission for a while, but now it's back again. So she has like fractures in her bones and stuff, like in her tailbone and things from the cancer. And now when we see her, she'll come over and stay at our house like close to a week. And sometimes she's doing okay, and other times we just like hang out with her while she's sick, which is, really hard to watch. And like cooking and eating was like her, favorite thing. And so it was really hard to see her like kind of lose her appetite, and the food would taste different to her. So some of her favorite things she didn't really like anymore. I hate cancer. And it's so annoying every time an article comes out about, some kind of cancer treatment breakthrough, and it gets your hopes up, because, we've been hearing these things for years, and I've lost multiple friends to cancer, just like tons of other people. And like, well, when are these supposed breakthroughs going to actually reach people? And then there were times she had to have like major dental work, and because that put her at a high risk of infection, she would have to stop chemo for a while and have the dental work done, and then wait a while again before she could start chemo. Oh, Misty, your grandpa has diabetes too. Does he have type 1 or type 2? Thanks for the prayers, Terry. Yeah, so that's, a big worry that's been weighing on me, and I hope that I can stay healthy so I can be a help to him, because he won't be able to be around, any sick people. Lisa says, cancer sucks. I've lost 5 people to cancer in the last 5 years, including my mom. I'm so sorry. Misty, your grandpa has to do insulin shots. Sometimes people with type 2 have to do that too. But people with type 1 always have to do that. Yeah, Heather, I do wonder sometimes what they do have the cure for. I keep hearing too about like advances in dentistry and like what's the word where they kind of like regenerate your teeth instead of drilling, and that would be nice if they could do that. Sounds expensive though. Years ago, I had a friend, he had Crohn's disease, and he didn't know he had colon cancer. Is it colon cancer? Somewhere in that area, until he was stage 4. And that's the thing that stinks, is like if you do have like a chronic disease already, then how do you really know if anything has changed? So that was really heartbreaking. And at the same time, so at his funeral, I had a friend who was fighting breast cancer, and her husband was there, and he just was sobbing, and it was horrible. And then she passed away. She had a very aggressive form of breast cancer. And then I had a friend a few years ago also pass away from colon cancer. It seems like at any given time I have a friend with cancer. Usually multiple. Hey Stephanie, sorry, this is depressing. Misty says my uncle worked as a head oncologist at Duke and created a cure for a type of cancer. He was so happy and excited for the major breakthrough, but Duke wouldn't release it. Oh, gall. They wouldn't release it because why? Oh. They didn't want him to tell anyone, huh? Okay, let's go back to dating stories. Tell me some horrible dating stories. I still have another one that I didn't tell. It was like the worst one of all. Oh wow, Misty. Holy cow. Do you have like a blog about that anywhere? I'd love to read more about that. Okay, so I was going to tell this story. Years ago, I had moved to Utah, and I took over my cousin's rental contract. So there were like 4 girls who shared an apartment. And after a while, all the other girls, they were gone, like visiting their family. It was like between semesters. And this guy and his like brother-in-law slash friend came over to clean the carpets, and everything was boxed up and put on beds and stuff. Like they couldn't have anything underneath the beds. So that's an important detail in the story later. Um, so we were chit-chatting, and I just was feeling very lonely at the moment because I was new to the area and everybody was gone. So it was weird being in this apartment by myself. And it turned out that he was from the Seattle area, and I was like, oh, really? And then I found out he knew a friend of mine. So we were just chit-chatting. It wasn't like, oh, I feel this romantic connection or anything. And then I had mentioned, we were talking about why I moved down there. And so what happened was I got violently ill in college, and we still didn't find out the cause. And I wanted to go back to college, but I just didn't want to go back until I knew what made me sick, and wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen to me again. I didn't want to like waste money on classes and stuff and not be able to finish. So I said I could at least just, move out and learn how to live on my own and manage my own finances and all that stuff. And I told him I also thought it'd be fun to like live down by my brother and my cousin, and start like dating more. And so I made that pretty clear that that was one of my purposes of being there. And so what happened was he said, hey, do you want to go bowling tonight? And I was thinking it was more of like a group invite, like, hey, a bunch of us are going bowling. Do you want to come? And I said, oh, yeah, that would be fun. And he said, okay, well, do you have a friend for my friend? And I said, no. Like, I had just told him, my roommates are gone. I'm new here, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, that's okay. And then he said he would pick me up from work. And I was quickly starting to regret having accepted the invitation. He showed up at my work that night. It was like this video pizza place. He had flowers for me. And I was thinking, a bowling date and like first date, you show up with flowers. And he had his friend with him, but his friend didn't have a date. And so they picked me up in their carpet cleaning van, like a big white van, the type of van that you should never get into. Speaking of, you guys should watch this video called Self-Defense Against Perverts. It's pretty funny. Anyway, it's not my video, it's some other video. So, oh man, this story is like embarrassing too. Like I really, like most people didn't have, I don't think anyone had cell phones back then, hardly at all. Not that I remember. So we went bowling, and I'm not good at bowling, and every once in a while I get a strike, but nothing happened that would warrant him giving me a high five. But he kept high-fiving me, and then he would try to hold on to my hand. And we just met that morning, and I would take my hand away, and then he'd high-five me again, just kept repeating, high five, try to hold on to my hand. I was getting really annoyed. And I tell this story to teenage girls as a cautionary tale. So embarrassing. And as this date goes on, I am just trying to think, how do I get out of this? And I wanted to run away, and I wanted to go home, and I'm thinking, he knows that I'm home alone. My roommates are gone. And I didn't know how to get to my place because I was so new. I didn't know where I was. And looking back, it would have been at least an hour walk in the dark to my apartment, but I really did not know my way around at all. So we go to their van after that, and we were going to go to this restaurant called The Training Table. And he takes my hand on the way to the van. Like, he forcefully takes my hand, like, you will hold my hand. And I didn't know what to do. And I'm thinking, if I call, like, what I do? Yell help, this man's holding my hand. Yeah, I really just should have gone to anyone, and say, please help me. I'm on a date with a psycho. Help. I at least knew the name of the place where my brother was living. They could have just taken me over there. Hindsight's 2020. So at this point, I'm really sick to my stomach, and we're at the restaurant, and it's an interesting restaurant because they have phones at every table, and you sit down and you pick up the phone to order your food. So it's kind of a weird, gimmicky little thing. So I don't know if they still have these in Utah or not, and I haven't been there for years. And I ordered a hot ham and cheese sandwich, and I politely tell him, thank you, it's good, but really I just want to go throw up. And I want to go to the bathroom and see if they have a window I can climb out of. Never come back. So he puts his hand on my hand and he goes, as long as it makes you happy, it's worth it. And it's not like, we went somewhere and he got me lobster or something. It was just a hot ham and cheese sandwich. Such an embarrassing story. Okay. It gets a lot worse. I don't know what to make of that guy still. Afterwards, he said, now we're going to go back to our place. And then he says, who wants to go for a walk? And that's supposed to be his friend's cue not to go for a walk with us. And he takes me for a walk by the Provo Temple, and this is where Mormons get married. So it's, and my brother had told me, he had warned me about guys who act like they've had a revelation that you're supposed to marry them. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the very first date I go on here, I end up with one of these psychos. Like, what the heck? I never had another date like that again when I was there, but so yeah, that's supposed to like set the mood or something. Like, we'll walk by the temple and we'll gaze at it and think about getting married maybe and having children together, which was not going to happen because he was a psycho. And he was telling me about how he was homeschooled and he went on his mission to Japan and he came home early. And he was homeschooled because he did like ultimate fighting championships or something like that. So I'm thinking, oh, so you do martial arts and you know where I live and you know I'm home alone. That's good. And he is holding my hand and he's kissing me on the top of my head like I am the most cherished person he has ever met, and I still don't know how to get back to my place and I just want to die. So he says, it's hard to believe we just met this morning. It seems like we've known each other so much longer than that. And I just said, must be because we're both from Washington. And then somehow I managed to work into the conversation that I don't kiss on the first date. And he goes, oh, you don't? And I said, nope. Then he says, well, I can respect that, I guess. But nothing would stop you from kissing on the second date, right? And I just kind of felt like the way to handle this is to kind of humor the guy a little bit. And then, so I was moving like 3 days later to a different apartment. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make sure the guy doesn't kiss me. I'm going to go home. I'm going to avoid him by hiding at my brother's house. And then I'm going to move and then he's never going to see me again. That's how it's going to work. And so I said, yeah, like, yeah, I guess I could kiss on a second date because we weren't going to go on a second date. So that was fine. And I just kept praying, oh my gosh, like, please let this guy drive me home. I want out of here. So he's finally driving me home. Like, this story sounds made up because it's so crazy. But yeah, just really, the thing I should have done was just gone to a manager of either the bowling alley or the restaurant and say, please help me. I don't know what the police would have said if I said, this man's holding my hand against my will. Anyway, he goes, well, you know how you said when you moved here, and I had only been there like a week or something like that. You know how you said when you moved here you wanted to date a lot of guys, blah, 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 blah. I go, uh-huh. Well, eventually you meet just one person and you only want to date them. Uh-huh. And he goes, what I'm saying is, you don't know it yet, but you have a boyfriend. He for real said that to me. Then we get back to my apartment and I'm thinking, yay, I'm about to be free of him. And then he invites himself in and I am just, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? And I said, I feel sick. I need to go to bed. So I mentioned on my Facebook page that I was going to tell horrible dating stories. This is the worst of them all. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I said I felt sick, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then he takes my head and like pulls my head into his shoulder. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he sits on the couch next to me and he goes, we'll spend the whole day together tomorrow, okay? Like, for real. I think a couple days later, I was so stressed out about the situation, I did for real throw up. So I emphasized, I need to go to bed, I feel sick. And he goes, oh, well, how about we go and have a prayer together and I'll tuck you in? And I said, no, I don't really think you're supposed to be in my room. So, yeah, that's okay. So he insisted on saying a prayer, though. I don't remember what he said. I was too busy praying for him to go away. And he finally left. I locked the door and went to church the next morning. When I got home, my roommate Constance was back. And she goes, some guy called for you? And I go, oh, are you going to call him back? No. I didn't even explain. I just went straight over to my brother's house. We played card games until super late at night. I only came home to sleep and I just avoided my apartment as much as possible. And then I moved. So it's seriously like 3 months later. And my roommate Constance, I bumped into her and she said, oh my gosh, Sarah, she goes, I was working at Wendy's and this guy comes through the drive-thru and he saw my name tag. So when they cleaned the carpets, they saw a box that said Constance on it because she had to like box up her stuff and put it on her bed. And he goes, your name's Constance? She goes, yeah. Do you have a roommate named Sarah? She goes, well, I did. He goes, tell her to call us. We miss her. He's that clueless. Like, I avoided him like the plague. And he's thinking I'm going to call him. And then I got my horrible dog washing job. So I made a video about my dog washing job. Seriously, worst job ever. And I think they had that featured on Dirty Jobs one time. And yeah, that is indeed a dirty job. And, oh, I hear Jared coming in through the door. Hang on. Oh, that's right. He has his own key now. Okay, hang on. I just want to warn him that I'm live streaming. Hey! Hello. I'm live streaming. Okay. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Did they like the salad?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up my live stream. I have to tell them the end of my horrible date fiasco from years ago.
Live streaming this late for people like in New Zealand or something.
Or people who stay up late here.
Till 1 in the morning.
Oh, I actually said that I was doing a live stream while I wait up for you. Okay, so anyway, I got that horrible job, and sometimes I didn't even have money for the bus, and every day I left, like it was like a to walk there was over an hour, and I would leave work smelling like wet, dirty dogs. Like people would bring their dogs in as mangy as humanly possible, and then I'm like washing them, and they're, you know, shaking off on me, and I have to like hold them to my body and take them to the drying table. And so yeah, it just felt awful by the end of the day. And one day I finally had bus money. I get on the bus, and in the very first stop, guess who gets on the bus? Psycho guy. And I was wearing sunglasses and my hair was pulled back, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, please don't recognize me. And I was kind of sitting here like this in my seat, like, please don't see me, please don't see me. And he was talking in this very kind of boisterous, like show-offy sort of way, and I thought, oh my gosh, he saw me, he's talking to his friends like this because he knows I'm here, and he's ticked off that I avoided him and stuff. So, the very next stop, when I knew he wasn't going to get off, I got off at the very last moment, and I ran. And it's like 100 degrees outside. I still had to walk home 45 minutes in the heat. And that is why you don't go on dates with psychos. The end. Yes, Stephanie, that was a good first date material, right? Yep, Heather. No, it's a Chimo van. A Chimo van. Okay, so that video I was talking about, self-defense against perverts. The guy drives a van around, and I forget what his name is, but he was in Lord of the Rings and Lost. It's funny to see him in this like low budget video, but he's driving a van that has signs on it that says free Oprah DVDs and scrunchies and that sort of thing. And oh my gosh, it's a demented video, and it's, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes long or something, but it made me laugh so hard. So, yeah, Terry, thank goodness I survived that date. I really was kind of, I don't know, you'd have to like meet the guy to understand that he's not super threatening. Like he's kind of a dork, and just kind of seems like he's not all there and doesn't get it. But still, like I felt like if he could be the kind of person who would snap if you really like made them mad. And so I felt like I was going to survive the night, but was not happy that he knew where I lived. But thank goodness I was moving a few days later, and I could avoid him. Yeah. Yeah. It's really embarrassing that I got myself in that situation. And my brother told me about, there's a quote from this man named Hugh Nibley, and he said, "You young men, stop telling the young women you've had a revelation they're supposed to marry you. If they're supposed to marry you, they'll say yes." That's a very good point. Yeah. Only lamos pull that. Like, oh, I had this revelation, you're supposed to marry me. Idiots. My husband did not pull crap like that. Okay, my son is safely home, so I guess I should wrap this up. Hour and a half later. So that would make it... Wow, it's very late. Yes, Heather, better to be safe than sorry. You have a good night too, Nipote. Okay, when this is over, you guys can tell me your horror dating stories in the comments. Or embarrassing. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm glad you could have a laugh about that. Now I can teach my daughters about what to do if they're in an uncomfortable situation like that. Like, don't feel embarrassed if you're in the middle of a date and you have to go up to someone and let them know, I'm on a date with a psycho, please help me. Most people have cell phones nowadays, though, and they could just say, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then they call somebody and ask for help. But, yeah. But I still don't have a cell phone. And that helps me justify my kids not having cell phones. I can go, well, I don't have one, why should you? Misty, you got married at 19. How long did you guys date for? By the time my husband and I got married, it had been like a year and 3 months. Okay, well, good night. I'm going to turn this off and I have to go shut off my Wi-Fi because Sunday is our internet free day. And I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or not. Oh, congratulations, Misty. 15 years. Awesome. Okay, good night.